I made a list. Now I'm adding one more thing here that I forgot. YouTube. All right, let's do this video.
Okay.
Rafi's Rambles, Rafi's Rambles, Rafi's Rambles.
Hola, you amazing artist, and welcome to the busy studio.
Yeah, it is really very busy in the studio right now.
Let's fix this camera so that there we go. Now we're both in frame.
Indeed.
Hi.
And you're in frame on my t-shirt.
Yes, look at that. It's my face and my face.
Do you feel weird?
My face. I do, actually, a little bit.
It's weird for you. So the first question comes from George. Hi, George.
Hi, George.
Making all this work, it's very difficult for me to find balance. How do you handle the book work? I am struggling to keep up with my custom orders and creating new pieces. Do you have any tips? And the second question is from Dora.
Hi, Dora.
Hi, Dora. And Dora's website is bydoradesign.net. She listens to our podcast and watches our videos. Her question is, how do you both find time or manage your time? I often find myself overwhelmed with art and craft study, business-related study like marketing, finances, and product creation time, family time, and house-related time, and self-care time. Big, huge thanks.
All the time. Yeah.
All the time.
That is a fantastic question, especially on the heels of this morning where I walked into the studio earlier this morning and looked over at our sink and we had some dirty dishes.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thought that I had in my brain was like, I don't even have time to do dishes. It was ridiculous. Like all of a sudden I was overwhelmed. Right now, as we speak, obviously we take care of bookkeeping. So there's all the bookkeeping, all that kind of stuff. You know, you're running a business, website maintenance. It's been very interesting. Not only with website maintenance and maintaining the website, but you get some orders in and you have to make sure that everything goes well with the orders that you get.
Yeah, you don't have any bugs.
Somebody ended up accidentally ordering something more than once, so I had to issue a refund. So there's stuff like that you just deal with throughout the day. Right now I'm writing a book. I'm working on a new book for the Rogue Artist guide to rogue marketing. So I'm doing something where I want to demystify marketing for artists and stuff like that. So I'm working on a book right now as we speak that I want to release because it's me. I want to release it sooner than later.
Of course.
Because it's me. We're also right now working on the commentary for the last book. So we're doing an hour worth of recording commentary every day and listening to the audiobook. So we're doing the commentary for that. We have these YouTube videos that we try to do. And basically the way that we've been able to manage our YouTube videos is that we record a quick video as soon as the comment comes in.
Same day, sometimes immediately when it comes in.
Yeah, because there are times where before, back in the day, we used to put them in a folder and out of sight, out of mind. And it sucks because there were a lot of questions that didn't get answered. So now we make sure to record a video right away as soon as we get the question. And obviously that takes time. We're also working on a song. We're going to be releasing a single this month, and we have a goal of releasing a single every month because we have a bunch of songs that are not out there.
Yeah, 2 albums worth, I think.
Yeah, 2 albums worth of songs that nobody's ever heard. Also, I do t-shirts. So, I have 4 t-shirt designs, just harebrained ideas that pop up or stuff that gets inspired by comments that you guys do for us on the videos.
As well as some t-shirt designs that have been rattling around in my brain jar.
Yeah, right now, between the two of us, we have 10 art and jewelry commissions that we're working on. We have a Patreon page, so we manage the Patreon page. We also do Zoom meetings with patrons and with people that go to the website and sign up for Zoom meetings. So we have those to schedule. Any photography, which goes hand in hand with managing our social media and updating listings on our website. Mm-hmm. Random creations that are jumping around our heads that we want to get started on sooner than later. Because if we don't,
they're gone forever.
Yep.
Either it's one singular piece or in some cases a full series that we want to do.
I'm planning to do a series with the new book, the Rogue Marketing Guide. I want to do a series on Skillshare where I talk about some of the subjects in the book. Mm-hmm. So that's a plan that we have. And we're also planning to do a live stream sale because one of our patrons did a live stream sale. So we want to put that together.
Yeah. In addition to that, we're trying to figure out how to do some online gallery stuff with our patrons.
Yeah, with our patrons. I'm trying to figure out how I could do a virtual gallery that will go with the collab. So there's always stuff going on.
And, laundry still has to get done, and the floors still need to get mopped, and the dishes still have to be washed.
Yeah, you're not going to take care of dishes by standing there and feeling overwhelmed and just staring at the dishes and be like, I don't have any time to do dishes.
And, you still have to eat and shower and get dressed.
Yeah, showering is optional.
Some days it's not. Some days it's mandatory.
You guys know from the videos, like, I'm not somebody that, like, cleans himself up or whatever to, like, film a video. First off, this is just where we're at right now with this particular subject, because this subject has evolved over the years.
Yeah.
And there have been periods of times where I was just very overwhelmed. And honestly, what I realized was that when you allow yourself to get overwhelmed, you become very, very unproductive. You don't do anything because you don't know where to start. You don't know what you're going to do. And really, it's a feeling that does not help you in any way, shape, or form. It's not like you put your foot down and you're like, I'm going to get this thing done when you're sitting there just feeling overwhelmed.
No, when you're feeling overwhelmed, you wake up and you're like, I don't even know.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure where I am. I don't know where I am.
I'm just going to stay in bed. One of the most recent things really that we've been thinking about, and I know that we did a video on Patreon about just being childlike. What I realized was that there was no sense of overwhelm. And considering that, like, what we do is fun. Like, it's not like anybody's telling us this is what you have to create this thing, you have to create that. Like, I'm creating art, I'm creating these videos, I'm creating music, I'm creating all of these t-shirts that I love to wear, weird t-shirts with my face on them. Like, we're everything that we're doing is something that revolves around what we want to do with our lives, and allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to compartmentalize things instead of trying to think of everything all at once and do everything all at once. A lot of people will look at that list and say, well, Rafi, you're really good at multitasking. And honestly, there is no such thing as multitasking. You may have several projects going on, but really it's all about compartmentalizing and saying, I've got an hour for this project today. I've got an hour for this. I've got an hour for this. The next hour, I'm going to chunk this, and I'm going to take care of this within the next hour or so.
I'm definitely a single tasker, but I've been getting more comfortable with chunking. I'm going to work on this for 15 minutes. I'm going to do this for an hour, and then I'm going to do this for half an hour. So it's really more like being able to shift gears.
Yeah, and I think really one of the secrets of watching, like, the kids was the fact that they would get started on something, and then if they were like, I'm not feeling it, they would move on to the next thing. I love the idea of having things written down just so that they're not floating around in your head, because honestly, that's where things get really overwhelming. If you're thinking about all these different projects and they're these like, fuzzy ideas that you have in your head that there's no actual like timeline or anything written down, or what it is actually written down, so you don't have to have it in your head, it can get really, really overwhelming.
Yeah, I honestly don't know what I would do without the planner. Everything gets written in the planner, even things I do daily, like look at our financials.
Remember that the planner is not, we tend to follow things like that, almost like these are the rules. You have to follow this to a T. Stay flexible with your planner. If you need to move things, move things. Be good to yourself when it comes to this. And remember that doing things faster doesn't necessarily mean that they get done better. Having a sense of super urgency, like this needs to happen now, doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get this thing out there at the most opportune time for you. You are challenging yourself not to get these things done, but to make sure that you remain in a place where you're having fun doing it.
Making headway on things and having a good time. One of two things happens with a planner, and I've experienced both. Either you write down everything that you have to do in the planner, and then you're stressed out and you try to do them all and it's not fun. Or you write down all the things you have to do in the planner, and then you never look at the planner and you just completely ignore it. Probably because it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
Do you remember when you wrote down everything you had to do on one day, like you were going to do these things, and then you looked at it and you were like, what did I do to myself?
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons, like, I'll give myself deadlines on things, right? So, for example, we want to get the single recorded, the song that we're working on now.
Yeah.
We want to get that recorded to be able to release it in September. So I have, leading up to there, each week I have remember the song, practice the song, and then record the song on this date. So the idea is tentatively we're going to be working on the song at least once a week or a couple times a week in order to be ready for the recording on that day. But I'm still flexible enough that if we're not ready, then I'm going to extend that date. And I think what's important is that it is better to extend the date than to just forget about it completely. The fact of the matter is that I know that even if I decide to extend the date, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that we'll get that song recorded in a couple months, because what'll end up happening is that it's there and I keep moving it, and finally I'm going to be like, I need to get rid of this thing.
I'm tired of moving this thing.
Giving yourself permission to have fun and giving yourself permission to be flexible when it comes to your schedule, and really just compartmentalize everything. You don't have to work on several things at once. And anything that you don't get done that day, then just move to the next day, and just move to the next day, and just move to the next day. Whatever you don't get finished, you could just move it to the next day.
Yeah, we've got things that go in the planner daily, like financial stuff, things that go in weekly, things that go in monthly, one-time things that are scheduled for 4 months from now, just so we don't forget them. And something that's really important for me is that if I write down that I want to do something, there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
So I try not to blow it off. Because
Yeah.
some days I look at what I wrote down and I'm like, I don't want to. And I'm like, that's where chunking comes in.
Yeah,
Well,
that's where you're like, just 5 minutes.
just 5 minutes.
Just
Do it for 5 minutes.
There are a lot of emails and stuff that goes on with the website that we got to take care of. Patreon is another daily thing. We try to do something, at least a little something daily on
Yep.
Patreon. So like there are things that you want to get accomplished every day, but also if you're not able to do it that day, be easy on yourself. Give yourself the flexibility to be okay with saying, you know what, for the next couple hours, we're just going to have a conversation. There are plenty of days where like Clea and I just put everything on pause and we just sit in the studio and we have a conversation. And it's easy on those days to feel like you're not being productive. You should be doing this or you should be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say get rid of the slave driver in your brain that is telling you that like you have to do these things and you have to do it this way and you have to do it that way.
For George's question, like custom orders, balance, and then creating new pieces, schedule yourself time for just creating what you want to create.
Yeah.
Even if you have pending orders, because you're always going to have pending orders. And sometimes we don't want to give ourselves permission to do anything else until those orders are completed.
Right.
And that can be like a never-ending cycle where then you're like just never working on pieces that you want to see happen.
A lot of people have jobs while they have their art career, and then they feel like they don't have enough time for their art because they have all this other stuff going on. And really it comes down to prioritizing something and saying like, I'm going to do this thing. I think it's one of the hardest things for people that work for themselves is that when you have a job, if you don't get to work on time, you're going to get in trouble. If you don't do your job, you're going to get in trouble. So like, even if you don't feel like being there, you sit there and you're like, all right, well, let me just get this done.
Yeah.
You know, and like, so we have this mentality of like, everything's supposed to suck when you're at work. And really, it's all about prioritizing and making it important enough to you that you're willing to take the time to do it and schedule yourself some time to do it. And it doesn't have to be the whole day. It could be just a couple hours, but just make sure that you get it started in some way, shape, or form, no matter what it is.
That I literally schedule time for new creations. And that's why musicians schedule band practice. Because if band practice isn't scheduled in, they won't do it.
Yeah.
They won't show up.
You got to schedule it. You got to schedule it for yourself and be flexible. If you need to move it, but schedule it.
Even if it's something that I know I do every week, like laundry, like I literally write down laundry every week.
Oh, yeah.
Just so I don't forget. Even something I do every day, like check emails, look at our financials. I write it down so I don't forget to do it. I write everything down.
I do
Literally
too.
everything.
I do too, because if I don't write it down, then it's sitting in here. Even like, on garbage day, throughout the garbage,
Yeah.
I make sure I write it in there, because there have been times where I didn't write it in there. And then at the very end of the night, when I'm ready to just relax, I'm like, crap, garbage.
Yeah.
It makes it less likely that you're going to forget and just add it into this amorphous
blob of
things that you have to do, because that blob is what makes it overwhelming.
There's another thing that's very helpful about writing down everything you do, and it's the ability to look and see where you are spending the majority of your time.
Yep.
And if you notice that there's something you want to be doing that never seems to show up in that planner, then make time for. Then you know, like, I'm going to have to make time for this.
Yeah. One of the other things you could do is make sure that you make things easier for yourself. And always plan for the future. I mean, we are pretty busy with a lot of stuff, and a lot of the stuff that we do is honestly stuff that we'd be able to hire someone else to do, like some of the bookkeeping.
Oh,
and
totally.
like all that stuff. So when you get into a position where financially maybe you feel comfortable, or even if it's still a little bit outside of your comfort zone, it might be time to grow and expand your business by hiring someone in. Unfortunately, we don't have the room here to be able to hire somebody, but it is something that right now is on our list of things that is going to need to happen, because the busier that we get with things, the more of that stuff that we could do, but we don't necessarily have to do, and where we're spending a lot of time, we need to really take a look at those things, like editing.
Where we can bring in help.
Yeah, like editing video. Is my time really being utilized the way that that maximizes that time? Or am I doing stuff that just anybody could do? So like we're not there yet. That's something that we just think about considering the future, because it'll give more time. Also setting up things where it makes it a little bit easier for you. It's one of the reasons that I stopped taking questions on YouTube and rather read your comments, because it took more time for us to try and sort through all the comments on YouTube than to have somebody just email us a question on the website.
Mm-hmm.
So there's things like, which the irony there is that George, this question is from YouTube.
You pulled it from YouTube?
Yeah, and she actually sent us the question, which is why we're answering the question, but I didn't want to leave George out.
Well, that's very
good. Because it's
good.
a good question,
Yeah.
George. Give yourself a schedule and just plan it out. And remember to make it a priority, because it's your project. So honestly, your project should come before anyone else's projects that are out there. If you have a job, that's great. Your job is here. You do your job when you're there. But when you're at home, this is your time, and you work on your projects that you've scheduled for yourself.
Absolutely.
Hopefully that answered your question. This is still something that, we're figuring out. I feel like this is going to evolve and change depending on how busy you are and how many things you want to get done. And for us, we're constantly, even when things are slow financially, we are constantly working on something new and jumping on something new, and just to keep that movement going. It's easy to feel like, well, I'm not busy enough. And so because you're maybe not making an income from your art or whatever it is that you're working on, that you don't prioritize it and make it something that you schedule. Whereas with us, even when stuff is slow, we're working on stuff. For me, it's like when you get yourself to a place where you're comfortable and having fun, just being in a studio, just creating, and not making it about this thing. Like, if I do this thing, then I'm going to make money. If I do this, then I'm going to make money. I think that that's where a lot of the overwhelm comes. Like, you're not doing enough. You need to be doing more, or you just don't have enough time. Repeating that to yourself is also a big no-no. Don't tell yourself you don't have enough time.
Yeah, trust me, it doesn't work.
You've got the time you need. If you feel overwhelmed, you are wasting time. That's as simple as it is. I got enough time to do this. I just need to do this for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is that I'm going to do it, and just do it and have fun doing it. Don't make it so serious, and give yourself the flexibility to be able to move your deadlines if you need to.
Absolutely. You'll find your groove and your flow, and it will evolve over time.
Yeah, it's still evolving. So
yeah,
that's our answer right now. Who knows? Next week our answer might be different, but that's what it is right now.
Thank you to George and Dora for your questions on
you,
time
guys.
management. Hopefully this was helpful.
And I'm curious to know how you guys deal with time management or even overwhelm. What do you do whenever maybe you're feeling overwhelmed in order to get yourself out of that place of overwhelm and put yourself in a much more productive, empowered place? Go ahead and leave that in the comment section below. And thank you so much for watching, you guys. You guys are absolutely freaking amazing. I totally adore you. And if you like this and you want to watch more like this, just click over here to subscribe. And that's it. Say goodbye, Clete.
Good day.
Adios.